have been friends since 1960, 59. How many years is that?
Oh, it's 50.
52 years. That long.
53 years.
53.
I'm only joking, Clive.
No.
No, there's somebody.
Yeah.
But I've always been in and out of entertainment business, so
So you were involved before
the
that?
country bar clubs were all the go then.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a license though.
So there were a few more in Liverpool before you sort of started.
Only about 2 or 3, that's all.
That's all. Yeah. Right.
I think they've all gone now. Yeah, I think the Jack's closed now.
I believe so. Last year, wasn't it? November.
Probably, yeah. Well, that was criminal why that closed. It's just that the owner wasn't very good.
I don't understand. The Jacaranda properties are empty. And the night the day we went there, you and I, was about 3-4 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it a bit more maybe, but it was packed. We had to wait to get a drink. And that was during the day, so I don't understand how they can close a place down that's obviously making money. And the expenses...
Are you recording this?
The expenses
on my phone, yeah.
Can't be that much.
It's only on my phone.
It's a lively area, that as well. There's a lot going on around it,
Yeah.
so you think, you know, there's a lot of passing trade, isn't there?
And who got the sign off the Jacaranda top? The original sign.
Well, I tried to get it, yeah.
I know.
I got caught though, you know.
I was in
No,
the
I
car.
said, it's my sign.
It was your sign. I was going to help you take it because we drove past and you said, look, there's the sign, let's take it. I said, well, we need a ladder.
Was it empty? It wasn't being used.
It was empty.
No, it was empty, yeah.
But it is his sign. You did it.
I'm paid for it, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the property was left, the sign didn't come down, and the sign is worth money now. I mean, it's worth a lot of
What
money.
happened to it?
I have no idea. Do you know I just sold John Lennon's record last week? He gave me 1,800 quid in bonds.
That sounds cheap though.
I know, well, it's 1,800 gold disc. It is cheap, isn't it?
Yeah.
He gave you gold disc.
John Lennon.
He did.
Mind games.
Really?
Could you prove it?
Yeah.
Why did you let it go so cheap?
I don't know. I also, I
Got
sold
Long Clive, yeah.
Brian Epstein's card where he gave it me, selling me meeting at his office at 7 o'clock.
Oh, I've got one of his cards, yeah.
And they gave me 450 quid for that. And then that curtain material that you and I were selling in Camden,
Oh, Beatles kit.
I sold that for 650 quid.
Now you get nearer now, yeah.
Which I'm sorry about because I could have cut out each one of them, framed them.
Yeah, but we all make mistakes, Clive. You know, the ifs and buts.
I make a lot of mistakes. Then in life I don't know if mistakes are mistakes or if there's spiritual guidance. I mean, Alan probably said I'm talking rubbish, but if you did everything successfully and you made lots of money, you'd be dead because you'd overdrink
Yeah,
yourself,
well, die happy.
overeat yourself, or overtravel yourself.
Yeah.
And life is a game of odds. It's like playing roulette. If you do keep gambling, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So I tend to think it's the only way I can get through without getting so depressed about the fact that I've just lost 20 million from land I own in Brazil. It's just been sold illegally.
You're still alive. Sorry if I lost that money, I'd be in the grave, or somebody would be in the grave. Yeah.
So I take solace in thinking, well, if I had the money, I'd be flying around everywhere and jet planes crash, or... Anyway, so this is it. I'm going to tell you what's written here. It's some questions that I was going to get you or Jesse to ask Alan, but I'll do it because the camera's over. It says, Alan and I promoted the Twisterific ball, and that was Alan invented that name, not me. Twisterific, that was
Well,
your
the
invention.
twist was all in, you know.
Yeah. Chubby Checker.
And it was
Yeah.
terrific. So I thought that was an incredible name.
Did Freddie stop?
Freddie's played in Derry.
Yeah,
And the King Twisters, you brought them from Liverpool,
yeah.
and the seniors.
Oh, Derry and the Seniors.
Yeah,
Oh, well, Wilkie was the singer.
that's right, Derry Wilkie.
Derry Wilkie.
Yeah.
Derry Wilkie. And we got the Queen's baths, and they boarded over the swimming pool for us to make a dance. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, a lot of places do that. A few in Liverpool.
And then Alan and I, going back to this card here, I worked on the Jacaranda door in Liverpool. It was Alan's club, and I think he opened it about 1959, was it?
59, 58, well, yeah.
And I paid off in Liverpool. I was a seaman. I was a steward on a first-class boat called the Oronze for Orient Line. And I went to see Alan, and I was just blown away by the club he had. I mean, it was something totally different. It was hot and sweaty, and everybody wore sweaters, and the brick dust used to stick to the sweaters. Do you remember that? And the floor was like flagstones.
It was the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a ground floor and a basement.
Yeah.
But we used the basements in the evening. Daytime it was just like a coffee bar.
Yeah.
And it was like, as Alan explains it in his book, and I can remember, it was like a Victorian railway station during the day. And it sort of, like that stale sort of old feeling about it. And then in the evening, he and Tommy Hartley would bring out the shutters, and shutter up the windows.
Oh yeah, well that too.
And then it opened as a private club.
Yeah.
What was no alcohol?
What was the surrounding area like there? Was it just shops, or were there other?
Shops.
I mean, there's a pub, isn't there, on the corner?
Yeah, that was there.
That was still there.
Yeah.
But there were, I mean, you go there now, there's lots of bars and clubs, so it wouldn't be like that, would it?
No.
No. So it was like a meeting point for a lot of Liverpool youth.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And it became quite a
But
popular
my
place,
place
didn't it?
was a meeting ground for groups. You know, because I was a promoter.
Because of the
Of
art
course.
college and
Yeah.
everything, it being nearby, I guess. I suppose that helped, didn't it?
Yeah.
And in the basement is where the Beatles used to practice.
Right. And when did you first become aware of the Beatles?
Then, that particular time, because they were practicing in the basement.
They weren't a group as such at that time.
I'd been to see
We were a
them.
group, but you know.
I'd been to see them at that church. There's a church on the way from Garston, because I used to live in Garston.
Right.
And there was a church hall, and I saw them there. And then I saw them at that, near where the Blue Angel upstairs, there was a club, right at the top floor.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I saw them there.
But this was before they had a drummer, or they were just guitarists, or
No, just guitars. Yeah.
because it was only when they went to Hamburg that they acquired a
Well,
drummer,
that's
wasn't
where
it?
that's the Hamburg taught them their trade.
Yeah, but they had to
But
have
they
a
worked 7 nights, 7 days.
but they had to have a drummer to do the engagement, didn't they, or something? Is that right?
We had Pete Best.
Yeah. But he was recruited to go to Hamburg, was he?
No, I don't think so. He was with. They had drummers came and
Yeah.
came and went, or
Yeah.
but he became their regular drummer. Are you interviewing Pete Best? He's still in town.
Well, it's nothing to do with Clive, really, is he? As
No.
such, you know. It's easy to go into the Beatles direction, isn't it? It's not really
well,
about
there's
that.
more profit in it as well. Yeah.
I mean, I like talking about that, but it's not to do with Clive, really. What's the next question?
Well, that was it. And then the Beatles used
That was a
to.
quick interview, yeah.
The Beatles used to play down below, and Alan used to lend them a brush handle as a mic stand, because he didn't even have a mic stand.
Stand, no.
So they tied a mic to a brush. And I think
And
it was
the
Audrey.
girlfriends held them.
Yeah, Audrey, I think. And
Very primitive, yeah.
Yeah.
She's dead now, Audrey.
Is she?
Yeah, well done.
How long ago? Oh, goodness.
10, 15 years.
She was my girlfriend, you know.
Was she?
Yeah.
No, when she's dead, yeah.
And there was another one, I can't remember her name. She was very pretty, and she had a slash on her face. A knife cut on her face. Do you remember her? She looked like a cat.
Was she German?
No, she was Liverpudlian.
No.
No, Astrid. We met Astrid, you and I, met Astrid, who was the Astrid Kirchner. Kirchner. She was like living with Stuart Sutcliffe.
Yeah.
And when Alan and I went to Hamburg in 1960 to see the Beatles and Alan get his commission, we went to see Stuart Sutcliffe and Astrid.
Right.
Stuart Sutcliffe was known as the fifth Beatle, because there were 5 in those days.
Yes.
But lots of people claim to be the fifth Beatle, you know. I'm supposed to be the fifth Beatle. Brian Epstein supposed.
Yeah.
Anybody who met them suddenly became the fifth
Yeah.
Beatle. Hello, Cotswold,
But Stuart wasn't really cut out to be a group member, was he?
no, he was an artist.
He was a great artist, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think.
He would have made it as an
Do you think
artist,
so? But
yeah.
it was that good.
He was that good. He was
Really?
the best that came out of the school.
I know
Yeah,
they still do exhibitions of his work now, don't they?
I think so, if you
Yeah.
can get him, yeah.
Yeah. And his sort of reputation's grown over the years, obviously, because of his association with the Beatles.
Yeah.
But he was very talented, apparently.
And then we went, after we saw Stuart and Astrid in the park, do you remember? It's a long time ago, but I would remember more than you because I was impressed by it all, you know, so then you remember when you're impressed.
Of course, yeah.
And then Alan took me to meet Bruno Koschmider. Do you remember that?
Of course I do.
Was it the Star Club or the
No,
Rattenkeller?
the Kaiser Keller.
Kaiser Keller. Kaiser
Which
Keller.
means basement,
Yeah.
king-size basement. Kaiser's king, I think, in German.
Right.
Yeah, we met Bruno Koschmider, and then you took me to meet, guess who? His name's Ted Taylor now, and he's still big.
He
King-size
lives in-
Taylor.
And the Dominoes.
King-size Taylor.
And the Dominoes, yeah.
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 King-size
And
Taylor.
they were playing in Hamburg.
Yeah, were they in
He
the...
lives there now. He married a German girl.
Right.
And he speaks fluent German, so
He's still performing, or?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But because he married a girl from Hamburg, and she obviously got homesick, so he lives in Hamburg now.
Right.
And then we went to see, do you remember this? We went to see the women wrestling in the mud.
Wrestling in the mud, yeah.
In Hamburg.
Yeah, that was outrageous then.
It would be, wouldn't it? In the 60s.
It was outrageous, you know, just, nobody, what? Women wrestling in the mud?
Well,
I mean, it was...
That whole area would be outrageous, surely, wouldn't it?
It was the red light.
Was there nothing like that in England at that time?
No.
Even in
No.
Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool had a
How do you mean
scene.
even in Liverpool?
Well,
we're
coming from-
respectable in Liverpool.
Coming from Preston, Liverpool always had this kind of
Listen.
reputation as being...
Image, yeah.
Yeah.
Wrong though.
I went with a girl there to put the light out, you know, and she was a professional. You know, you can't do it with the light on. That was in Liverpool, you know. Very, very, as you say, respectable. Of course, Liverpool was very Catholic, wasn't it, as well?
It would be, yeah.
Like Preston. So it was dominated by,
Of Irish descendants.
yeah. Now, Tommy Hartley, just going back to Tommy, he came to work for me when I opened the Cuba Club in Rochdale. No,
Yeah, the singer
in
with the
Birkenhead.
punch, that was his name.
The singer with the punch.
Not the voice.
And he was such a great guy. If anybody came in the club that wanted any trouble, he'd just put his gloves on, black gloves, and he'd put them on very carefully, looking at the guy, and he'd say, "Come in, let's go outside. Everybody want to watch?" And it didn't matter who it was, he'd take them outside and knock hell out of them. Because
Yes,
he
but
was.
he was a pacifist, a peaceful pacifist. He didn't, you know. That's why I employed him, because he wasn't
He was
an
psychological.
aggressive, yeah.
He loved animals. In fact, he loved our horses incredibly. And he had a psychology, and this part of the psychology was, if you want to be hard, if you really, instead of making problems with everybody, make it with me and let's get it over with, and then come to the gym and I'll teach you to fight.
Right.
Because he used to invite people to the gymnasium where he went every single day to practice fighting, you know, because he was a top boxer.
Right.
Anyway, he's in a book called A Hard Day's Night, written by Ray McFall, who was the owner of the Cavern.
Yes.
And his photograph's in there, didn't
Yeah.
I've got that book.
I've got it, one.
Yeah,
Was
Hard
there a
Day's
character
Night.
called Eddie Palmer or something?
Oh, he's dead. He was a bully.
He was murdered, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember reading about
Nobody
this.
missed him.
But he was a bit of a hard case, wasn't he?
You know,
Yeah, but he'd pick his mark.
Yeah.
He was a typical bully.
And was he on the music scene, or was he just
No,
on the...
just like a doorman and
a doorman?
clubs, yeah.
Right, yeah. So he made a few enemies, didn't he?
Yeah, deservedly, you know.
Yeah.
So we went to then. Now, then the other thing that really stands out in my mind is Allan opened a club in Liverpool. It was before the Blue Angel, and I think it was called, if I remember rightly, the Cabaret and Artists Club. Was it, or was it the Colony Club?
The new Cabaret and Arts Club, basically it was a striptease club.
Yeah, the new.
With Lord Woodbine.
That's right. He was his partner. But I remember Lord Woodbine pulling out a big knife. He had a big cutlass.
I can't remember that.
I remember that. He had a cutlass. In fact, he came to Preston and brought a cutlass. And then he came out with me and he took me to the docks and we got 7 great big oil drums. You know the one, I think 200 gallon.
Oil drum, yeah.
And then he got all the members to collect firewood, and we made a big fire in the yard of the catacombs. And they put the oil drums on and heated them up and then cut them. So you had a lead pan.
Indented them with a punch.
With a chisel. You had that, the lead pan was about that thick, wasn't it?
No, it was just the top of an oil drum.
Yeah,
And
steel
depending the thickness of, if it was deep, that would be the alto. And if it was small like that, that would be the tenor. They played the melody, you know.
Right, yeah.
And if they were full time, that was the bass. But he'd have 4, he'd be going boom, 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 like
And
that,
I played those for a while. I played it with 2 tennis balls on sticks. And there was only 4 notes in each drum, and they were the same notes.
Yeah.
There was a lead, a mid pan, and a cello pan, and bass pan and maracas, weren't there?
Something like that, yeah.
So it's like a Caribbean rhythm thing.
Yeah. And
Well,
so,
we're all Trinidadians.
Yeah.
and I remember when he melted melted the metal and made it soft and started chiseling, like Allan said, like a,
With a punch.
like how.
Like the drum was, say that's the drum. Well, he'd have 4 notes on which he'd punch.
Yeah.
And then he would test for the note.
Right.
It was all done by ear. And then that was a steel band or a steel pan.
Yeah.
And the average was, the bass was 4 pounds, they were full length. And then the alto was about that deep. And the tenor was small. But it had more notes, because they played the melody.
And he was a musician, but did he sing or something like
Who?
that? It was Lord Woodbine.
Well, he thought he could sing. But
What was he playing, or just
he
singing?
was playing, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't playing. He had the maracas.
Right.
That's it.
And he used
That's
to
it.
just... That's all he did.
Like he was
That's
singing.
it. That's it.
Yeah, well, he was...
That's it.
He called it singing.
He was a maraca shaker, but the maracas was the beat, wasn't it? You didn't have a drum, see. Now you have the leader, the driver of the band, there's a drummer,
it's
isn't
a
it?
key.
Well,
the rhythm, wasn't it?
the drummer, well, not the drummer, was the bass player who had the 4 big pans. He'd be going boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, like that,
Keep the beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bones was his name.
That's
He
right.
was very thin.
Yeah. Well, so Woody came down, Allan sent him. We made this steel band orchestra, and we opened the
I wouldn't
catacombs.
call him an orchestra.
What were they called? They were
Steel
called
band.
Steel.
Catacombs Old Steel Band.
Right. That'd be
Who
something.
played him? Who played?
I got a local lads from Preston. One was called Leon. He's
Was
really
he a
famous now.
Trinidadian?
The Lion. Yeah.
Oh,
The Lion is now famous. I saw him at a show about 10, 20 years ago now in London. Errol Daniels.
Now, yeah.
Errol Daniels and the Lions.
No, I don't know the name.
Well, that was a group, Errol Daniels and the Lions. And the other 3 were just like, one was from Jamaica, one was from Dominica, one was from...
Can we have another coffee?
St.
Anne?
Kitts.
This is my first drink.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they were always fighting all the time. Between the West Indians, didn't they? They were always fighting. You had to be very careful the way you handle them.
Yeah, they used to carry knives.
Did they?
And they were very much aware of, you know, that you were colour prejudice. If you said don't kick the fruit machine, yeah, rust man, yeah, racist man, rascal, and you know.
I don't remember that. But,
Yeah.
But I mean, Preston, that time, Preston had quite a big Jamaican population.
There was a fair. It was like, look, let's face it.
In from Liverpool,
Listen, the boat arrived in 1964.
what was the road, the main road? The
Windrush
Fisher.
brought all the Jamaicans
the
in
Windrush,
1964.
The Windrush brought them all. Well, they were here first, went home back to Trinidad, and they all wanted to come back to England.
Yeah.
So they all came back on the Windrush.
So just seen it paper, Ian Brady's dead, isn't it?
Pardon?
Who's Ian Brady? Ian
Murdered.
Brady.
The Moose murderer.
Who's murdered?
He's dead when he did that.
Just a paper.
He's been released then, hasn't he? You know, anyway, released from his suffering.
Yeah, released to die, obviously.
Not before time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to the woman? She died.
She died years ago, a few years ago, yeah.
What was her
Myra
name?
Hindley.
Myra Hindley. She looked horrible though, didn't she?
She did on that photograph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looked
She had
evil.
the blonde hair and
Yeah.
the eyes, yeah.
Yeah, talking about Myra Hindley, there was a stripper that used to play at the New Cabaret Artists, remember? Was she from Manchester?
Oh, there was one from Manchester, quite well stacked.
Yes, right, and she stripped.
Your memory's not that bad.
No.
She stripped and the Beatles would play, didn't he?
Oh yeah, she wanted a backing group.
So he put them
and
there
all
on with
the
the
band
Beatles.
said, I'll give her a backing group. But not musically.
So she's got a little stage, it's about the size of this table, isn't it, Alan? It was really small. And like George Harrison. Get this.
I'm just trying to get more.
George Harrison, right? All he could see was this bump stripping. And she fancied him. And she say, oh, well, you know, she was like trying to get off with him, and it really scared him to death because George wasn't a very. I used to go swimming every day with George and Ringo.
Did you really?
To Bootle Baths, yeah. We'd go on the bus after the cavern sessions. And then Ringo helped me out a lot because he helped me decorate the Witch's Cauldron in Birkenhead. That was another club app. And then he also, when I opened the Ponderosa in Bolton, all the gangs came. And there was one guy, he had a
You
Luger
had that
pistol.
trouble in Birkenhead as well with cans.
Oh, didn't I? Terrible.
Didn't they throw bricks through the window?
One of the staff got stabbed, the girl that worked behind the bar.
Charming place.
And I gave every one of the members a club to go home with to fight their way out. It was violent, you've no idea.
Birkenhead.
Yeah, anyway, this guy's sitting on my back, shooting the gun off and biting me, right? And I can't get him off. And there must have been 500 in the club, and they're all like fighting. Everybody got his shooting. So I moved him round to the Ringo, who was playing on the stage, and Ringo just ripped the table leg, just leaned down, ripped the leg off the table and bashed the fella on the head, knocked him unconscious, while he's on my shoulders.
Oh.
And I've still got the bite marks on my back to prove this. And the story was written up then in the Mersey beat, and the story was called Ringo Riots, Rock and Roll and Clive Kelly. That was in the Mersey beat. So Ringo saved my life.
I'm
you could
surprised
say.
because when Ringo joined, the Beatles really took off, didn't it? Not
Yeah.
because he had arrived.
Not because of
He was-
it.
He was
No, I'm
already,
just
wasn't he,
saying.
Alan? He
Yeah,
was fairly
sure,
big.
yeah.
He was what?
Fairly big. Before,
Ringo?
yeah,
Oh, no,
on his
he was,
own,
yeah.
he was.
He was with Rolling Stone.
Yes, he was, yeah.
And they did Butlins, and they were like big.
But when he joined in September '62 or whatever, the Beatles took off, didn't he? I'm surprised he had the time to sort of do these things because they must have
They
been playing
booted him
nearly
out.
every night.
Listen, Alan should know more about this because he used to go around looking for a drummer for the Beatles.
Yeah.
You know, because he was always, didn't you? You'd go down to the bottle factory. Who was it?
Garson Bottle Works.
Yeah, you remember that? Trying to get a drummer from there.
We got one, Tommy Moore.
Tommy
Tommy
Moore.
Moore, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
you could never find a good drummer.
His pig shit, you know.
His wife taught him how to join in the Beatles or something.
Well, she tried, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
But he
was
wasn't any good anyway, so...
And then he got the big three drummer. What was his name? Johnny Hutchins.
Johnny Hutchins, yeah,
he was good.
He was brilliant. He was the best, probably.
He still is. I mean, he was a good drummer, wasn't he? I mean, there's only three in that band.
They made a heck of a noise.
And he made more noise than anybody else.
I did see them a couple of times.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where?
New Brighton Tower.
New Brighton Tower?
When the Beatles played. The
Yeah,
little
New
little
Brighton,
Richard.
It's gone now.
Yeah, it burned down, didn't it?
Yeah, don't look at me, I didn't do it. We all used to do it. The club was made money.
You had a club that burned down, didn't you?
Yeah, it was what you call a torch job.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I said, no, the big three, you know, they played with the Catacombs, but I was too young to go there.
He did play the Catacombs.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
They played, there was a venue in Preston, it was a school, just an ordinary school, called Blessed Sacrament. And on a Sunday night, and I never knew who organised, who booked the artists, but the big three played there, the Hollies played
Probably
there.
be Clive.
Well, it might have been.
Because I
But
believe
I can't remember. Do you know?
I think it was Paddy Jones after I'd left.
I wouldn't deal with them. He'd already changed.
Paddy Jones was like, he was a guy that was selling tickets. Now, Paddy Jones, I've got to put this in, it's really because everybody looks at him as a hero, but he was selling tickets. Where was it you did that festival? What is
the open air one, the Beat Festival.
It was a football pitch or a greyhound.
Well, that's what, yeah.
Stadium, Liverpool Stadium.
Yeah.
Would that be it?
He put a festival on in the beginning, before festivals, right? He was always first.
Open air festival.
Open air festival. Before anybody else, Allan Williams did it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm there with Alan, and we're on the door. Well, they're all coming in. And there's Paddy. Do you remember? Selling bloody false tickets.
But that was his game. He always did
And
that.
on the Rolling Stones, which I'm famous for not having them play, it's hit every newspaper. I'm still after the Rolling Stones worldwide for the show. I've been after them in Japan.
give up if
I'm still after them. I just spoke to Bianca Jagger 2 weeks ago. She's his wife.
Yeah,
So she's going to have a word with him, right?
I should have a word, but she won't get anywhere.
Paddy Jones was on the door of the Cubic Club in Rochdale, and there was 3,000 people in. David John was on stage. Mick Jagger and Brian Jones were in my office with me having a drink. They drank a bottle of whiskey and, did a few doobies. And the other three arrived, and Paddy Jones, he says, you can't get in there, they'll rip you to pieces, right? And that's in Bill Wyman's book, page 181, and it's called Stone Alone. And he says, it starts, we did a gig, we got paid £350 for, and we never did it. But one day we will, maybe. And it's in the book.
Really?
So I still think there's a chance to get the show they owe.
Yeah.
Because I've got a contract still with Eric Easton Agency.
Yeah, it'll be out of date now.
No, but-
Expiry date.
Yeah, but
You get publicity out of it.
I've got loads of publicity out of it, and I still am. I mean, this is great for the film that we're doing now.
Yeah.
Great publicity. The one that is owed the show by the Rolling Stones, paid for and contracted.
Have you got written proof of it?
Yes, I've got the contract. And you know who gave me the contract? Mark Lewisham, the Beatles writer.
I know Mark Lewisham.
Right, there you go. He gave me the contract. He brought it down when he interviewed me in London. I've got the contract from Mark Lewisham, the Beatles writer. Right?
Yeah, he emailed me
Boring
recently.
farce, if I remember it.
He was.
Yeah.
Well, he is. There's a very.
He still is, but he was.
He's writing the complete Beatles story.
I know, and he's been doing it since 2006.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Years.
Yeah, but when he does come out, can you imagine how good it's going
It's
to
going to
be?
be 2 volumes, and the first volume's taken about 6 years.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been
Sounds
writing
like-
my book for
Sounds like
40
it could
years.
be a very fucking boring book.
Yeah.
If it's taken that
But
long.
listen, Peter Shenton's just brought out a boring book called Rock and Roll in Blackpool. You had the Picador Club in Blackpool.
Is that Rob Shenton?
It's a bestseller. Yeah, Rob Shenton.
Yeah.
He's printed it 4 times. It's sold out in Waterhouse, is it? Waterstones? In
Waterstones,
Blackpool.
yeah.
I spoke to him last
And
week.
it's about what?
Rock and Roll in Blackpool.
In Blackpool, that Picador Club.
Yeah, and all it is a diary. On so-and-so night, such a group died.
Was that something to do with Johnny Kidd?
No, well, Johnny
Picador.
Kidd played there. I stayed with Johnny Kidd. Johnny Kidd and I stayed in
I was
Blackpool
always under the
together.
impression that was his club.
No,
I thought
it was
he owned
it was Trixie, done by Trixie, a lady of the night called Trixie.
Right. I know it was a very popular venue.
Peter Shenton was just the helper. He used to sweep up and everything, like Paddy Jones was for me in the Catacombs.
Right.
Before he started selling false tickets. Everybody thinks Paddy Jones was a great guy.
He's not with us now, is he?
I loved him for the personality. He was 6'3", he had his hands as big as a plate. You just put him on the door, you'd have no trouble. And he used to always keep a piece of wood by the door. And when any hard cases come, he'd hit the piece of wood with his hand rather than hit the people.
Really?
And they'd see the size of that fist.
Sorry for the wood.
You know what I mean? Boom.
I do kind of remember seeing him, you know, with Bob Johnson once or twice, but didn't.
I've got loads of photographs of him on my Facebook page. You can see him, and there's a picture in the book. Oh no, in the book I haven't put one. But he's got a great big American car with wings. It's David John and the Moon. That's my car.
Right.
I lent it to him, yeah, to come. Because I gave him the club in Wigan that I had. I said, you can have that club if you stay away from me. That's what after he robbed him, Paddy Jones. Paddy Jones, he had a club called Regan's. He's probably forgotten this, in Chorley.
Yes,
was it Chorley?
Chorley, what?
And Paddy Jones robbed you, didn't he, there? He actually went with David John. I'm not supposed to say this, so please don't sell David John. I told you this.
It's on tape now, for Christ.
Oh, well. Took the safe from upstairs at Regan's, tried to open it to get his money, Allan Williams' money out of it, couldn't get it open, so he threw the safe, this is Paddy Jones, witnessed by I've just said who, which I didn't mean to, but I've done it, threw it out the window, thinking it'd smash when it hit the concrete. It didn't smash. So he's going round all these scrapyards in Preston saying, can you cut this open for me? Right, well there you go. And that, he was your partner, wasn't he?
Oh,
Paddy, what did he have to do with Regan's then? He said he was your partner. I mean, you could never believe what he said.
wasn't my partner. He worked there.
He worked there. But you were direct partners with Regan, I think, weren't you?
Yeah,
Regan, that's right.
and he wasn't a very nice guy either.
No, well, he was a friend of Paddy Jones and they were out to screw you.
Well, he did.
Probably did they? So, we've
The
mentioned...
police closed that.
Eh?
The police closed that down.
It was set on fire. Because I went and took
Well,
the
the
tiles
police
out
were
of the
gonna
fireplace.
close it
I got
down.
15 quid each for the
Because
tiles.
one of them was knocking off a policeman's wife or something.
That's right, Regan's wife.
Yeah.
That's it. What was her name? She was a right one, she was.
Oh, no.
Well, they turned it into a... Alan wanted a cabaret club. That was the idea. That's what he's into.
Yeah.
You know, grand piano and all the rest of it. He tried to do it with the Blue Angel, put the grand piano, but after a while it didn't work in Liverpool, did it? I mean,
It worked as long as
for a while,
I
about
wanted
a
to.
year.
Well, then the pianist, when the tax caught up with him, he packed up and said, it's not worth my while. You know, I'm paying tax on what you know, you're paying me. So piano went. In fact, it's in Grove Park now. It's quite a famous piano really because the people that played there,
Right.
Bob Dylan went there.
they all played that. The
The Rolling
piano.
Stones played.
Yeah, their own song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all did. It was a show business club.
I've never been in. I don't
And
know.
that's why it changed from being what Alan wanted originally, which was like Frank Sinatra type of piano, and Alan could have his sing-song, because he's
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
singer, is Alan.
Was, yeah.
And then,
Well, that's,
you know, you can't turn your friends away, can you? And if your friends are rock and rollers, like the Beatles were his friends, I mean, he managed them. He was their agent.
I know.
He was the guy that put... Now, there may be some talk about this. People say, no, I was a manager, I was a manager. Now, remember this. I was Brian Epstein's personal security. I was his, what he called lover, because I used to spend a lot of time with him, and we'd go to Lionel Bart's, Lionel Blair's, and all those in places.
they were all gay places.
We're all gay, right? I wasn't gay, I've never been gay. But I can play at being gay, if you know what I mean, because I worked on the Aronze, which everybody in the crew was gay. They'd have marriages with wedding dresses and the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you can live with them, which I had to as a steward, civil service, then you can accept them and be part of them, and they're funny.
Yeah.
They're better fun than a normal straight guy who goes out to the pub and
And they
wants to
spent
fight
more
everybody.
money as well.
And they spend more money, as he said.
But in those days, it was still illegal.
Well, Brian was what you call in the
Well,
closet.
Yeah.
And
Was the Queen.
I pulled him out of the Blue Angel on umpteen occasions where they're trying to kill him down in the cellar. and Alan wasn't even there that night, right? Because they hated him. One, he took over the Beatles from Alan, right? Because Alan was a manager before.
I know.
It was Alan that arranged the tour.
Yeah, yeah.
It was Alan that gave them a place to rehearse when they had no place.
Yeah.
Although he didn't give them a mic stand, but he gave them a brush, which is good enough in those days.
Well, girls help, yeah.
I think he had something to do with some leather jeans at some time, but I can't remember.
Oh, that was a lot later, yeah.
Right? And
John
so...
Lennon's jeans.
Yeah. Did you sell them?
No, I think it was stolen. I was going to sell. And then I had to go to hospital. I had a quadruple bypass. And the jeans was, well, they'd been well worn. And I just slung them over a wardrobe door. And my daughter came to clean the place out. Saw these tattered jeans and bin them. And put me back in hospital again.
I've just remembered something when you're saying that,
Yeah.
which gels with this story. Alan took me one day, he says, come, we'll go and see John. Right, this was in the afternoon. And you took me to his flat, which was in Gambia, was it in Gambia Terrace?
Near the
right near the cathedral.
Yeah.
And we went in, and before we opened the
There's
door...
one called the Blackburn Arms on the corner.
We had a pint in there.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Before we opened the door, and I'm sorry, John, the spirit of John Lennon, to be telling these stories, but, you know, it's all part of life. And when you tell stories, you lose friends, you know. But anyway, he's dead.
Yeah.
That
You
was the
can't lose
filthiest,
many friends, no.
dirtiest, stinkiest flat I have ever seen. Remember that? There was food, like fluff growing on it. There was
No, that was Gambia Terrace.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was his flat, John.
Opposite the cathedral.
Yeah.
That's who John was. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Filthy.
He was living there with Stuart.
There was a gang of them.
John mainly. So we went there to see John and he wasn't in, so Alan opened the door and that's what we saw, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are nice
Oh,
properties.
the good old days, yeah.
You see them now, they're really nice, attractive properties.
Oh,
aren't they?
yeah, very expensive.
It's sort of,
Gambia
was
Terrace.
it Georgian, like Georgian Terrace or something like that?
Yeah, what's the
Yeah,
George?
yeah,
Set back off the main road.
Yeah.
Had some private
yeah. Yeah, you drive
driveway.
into
Yeah,
it, don't you?
that's it, yeah.
Railings round it.
There's another little thing I wrote down here. Look, it says that one there. It says Alan. There you go.
Yeah.
Stayed at my Shaftesbury flat and Kensington
Oh, in London,
flat.
yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
But nothing went wrong there.
no, we had a ball, Jack Alan. We had a ball.
Shaftesbury Avenue.
We used to go out and get so stoned.
That'd be a hell of a place to live, wouldn't it?
Well, right in the centre, in front of the Lyric Theatre. You couldn't get more central.
No.
Or expensive, I should have.
Yeah, I used to make jewellery on the roof.
That's right, we were doing selling jewellery.
I'd make jewellery bending horseshoe nails, which I wanted to put in this film. I want to do that, make some horseshoe nail jewellery. I bend nails, right, and I make them into beautiful creations of works of art. And I made them on the roof, 5th floor up, and on my fishing line I'd put them on instead of a bait. I'd lower them down to the Shaftesbury Avenue. My girlfriend would be down and she'd say to the tourist, you want to buy one? Aren't they lovely? He's made them up there as his photograph. And she'd sell them like that. And the police couldn't do us.
Because you're not on the street.
Well, we're not on the street, we're just with a fishing line.
Yeah.
I made a fortune.
Is that when Pete Juice, did he
Now,
work
Pete
for
Juice came down to work for me in London.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, no, Pete came. Pete contacted me when I was living in Brazil and he wanted to come out to Brazil. So I said to Pete, and this is good, it comes on. I said, why don't you go into the travel business? I've just been offered a good deal to sell charter flights. I had a charter flight business called Rain Cloud Travel.
Right.
The headquarters of that was Shaftesbury Avenue, where Alan used to visit me regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so I told Pete to go into the travel business, phone Tony White, and then he made Reho Travel because of me and made a fortune, became very rich. Now, Alan used to come down every few weeks. And in fact, the time he came down, he'd just come down to get his first copy, with all the mistakes still in it, of a book called The Man Who Gave the Beatles Away. Now, I've still got that copy. It's in mint condition, signed by Alan and Beryl.
Hardback or paperback.
Hardback.
Yeah.
I got 2 hardbacks. Then he came down again a few weeks later and he got the American version. Signed that again to me. So the very first 2
You still
books.
got that?
Yeah, I've still got them. It says, this book is red hot off the press.
Right.
And it's still got mistakes in it.
Yeah.
And I've got those. With the dust cover on, with his photograph and everything.
Won't you sell them?
Well, I've got round to it yet, have I?
Well, now's a good time.
You should put them up for sale.
What are your books?
Well, if you put them up for sale, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
What was I talking about?
Peat juice.
Pete Juice came down. Well, there's really nothing. He's living in Antigua now. We stayed
still,
with him a few
I
years
wonder what
ago,
happened to him,
didn't
to
we?
be honest.
No, he's living in Antigua. He's doing quite well. He's got into ecology. He's helping the ducks there because he used to shoot them when he lived here on his estate in
Didn't he have a
Buckinghamshire.
record shop in Preston?
Don't know about that.
Next to the old public hall.
No, he had a flat above that cafe that was there.
Yeah.
And I used to stay there with
The
him.
schooner.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's where the record shop was. Upstairs over the schooner.
Miffy worked in the record shop.
He did.
Yeah, right. Miffy is David John of David John and the Mood, who was the best rock and roller. In fact, he was on all the shows with the Rolling Stones. We used to put him on the same show. And I was on stage in Warrington, I do believe it was, at the Palais, when Mick Jagger and myself and Paddy Jones, who was then, with us, before we realised who he really was, Miffy said, "I'm not going on." This is on stage with the curtains closed. They were just about to open. He says, "I'm not going on." Mick says, "You are." Grabbed hold of him. He says, "No, I'm not. Fuck you." Excuse me. He didn't go on. Refused to go on with Mick Jagger. So that was the turnaround.
Yeah.
Because up till then, he was big. Now, it wasn't Mick. Somebody, Miffy told me the story that he'd been told off by the manager. Is it Dell? That was the name, Dell Arcades. And they were the manager working with Eastern organisation, Eric Easton.
Yeah.
And they'd insulted him.
Right.
And that's why I don't know the full story.
No.
I just know what I know because I was there.
Yeah.
Now, Alan stayed regularly at my flats and gave me those books. And at the same time, I had another flat in Kensington. Do you remember that one?
No, I don't know that.
You stayed there 3 times. That was when he was promoting what they call the Freddie Mercury Memorial concerts. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So he'd come down and stay with me, yeah? But before that, every single week for, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years, I don't know how many years, but a long time, Alan would come down every Sunday morning on the train, very early train, with a load of bric-a-brac, things like a thing that you put a hat on and it stretches the hat. Do you remember that?
I have stretcher, yeah.
And his own Bunsen burner, which he used when he was a plumber, and you blow down a tube into a thing like this made of brass, I've still got it,
Yeah.
and you solder the pipes, because all the pipes were lead and copper.
Yeah.
And he was a plumber. He was also a church stripper. He would...
I wasn't a church stripper. I bought redundant churches.
That's it.
There was a time when nobody was going to church. And then I knew the guy, or his son, who was in charge of selling the churches, redundant churches. So we used to get in there before the scrap merchants, and we used to help ourselves. We even took the floors of mint and tile floors, because where the choir played, nobody walked on the tiles there.
Yeah.
Because they were in. The one choir was there, and the other half was there. Well, you made a good living out of stripping churches, yeah.
And he got the most incredible, and I don't know if he still got it,
But
a pew. You know, where you stand, all hand carved, great big pew that you had in the front of that big house you had in.
I've still got that, but it's in pieces now.
It's enormous. You know, that was from the cathedral, I
churches,
think.
When
It's
you
worth a
went
lot.
down,
Yeah.
there was a middle part of the church, and then that's where the long pews were. And so you used to chop them up and make them into garden seats.
Yeah, but I'm
Because they
thinking
were
about...
well walled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that cockpit you had. What do you call it, where the preacher goes in and gives a sermon?
Oh, the pulpit.
You had one of them.
That's the one, yeah.
Have you still got that?
No.
No.
That was
And
something.
you get all the stuff off the roof and everything, would you?
Not the roof, no.
No,
we
not the
guess,
lead or anything like that. Not the
No,
lead.
no, that's too much like hard work. You know. Now, we used to get, at the end of the rafters, they would have carved angels out of the wood. We used to get them. But that was dangerous because you couldn't get a ladder. They'd have the scaffolding, you'd have a chainsaw. And even I was on the top of a chainsaw. And all the sawdust was getting Oh yeah, we did all that.
Barry told me before he died, Barry Hunter,
Yes.
because he used to strip out, not churches, but these old Georgian houses and Victorian houses in Lytham, and he cut the beams out and stacked them all to make other things in his house. And the day before he died, no, 2 days before he died, we went to visit him, you see, and he was very thin and he was dying. He died 2 days. And he says, I got the beast through cutting down those old beams. He says, because I'd spend all day in that.
The engine would be.
Yeah. He says the arsenic glue in the wood. Arsenic glue in the wood. He cut it.
Yeah.
And it turned into powder.
Yeah, and
And it gave him cancer.
He looked so healthy, didn't he?
If you didn't look at his legs, he always looked so healthy, but his legs were really thin because he's had it a long time and he didn't even know he'd got it.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
No. Right.
Still,
Now, the last and not least, we haven't mentioned this before, and I think this is incredible. Alan looks like this. He sort of. I found the catacombs because I used to come down every day on the milk train from Liverpool to look for the property.
and he'd sent you to find something.
He sent me to find. He said, if you can find a cavern club, I'll be your partner. Right? Now, to find a cavern club isn't no. Well, I tried Blackpool, but there's no cellars in Blackpool. But I did spend 3 months. Then I tried Lancaster. No. And then I spent about 6 months looking around Preston. And I come down Derby Street near the prison, and I'd see these 2 big green gates. And it's winter, and my shoes have got holes in them. The leather had gone. We didn't have rubber sole shoes then. And I didn't have the money to buy a pair of shoes. Can you believe this? And I was freezing. But I was looking for the cavern because I'd worked at the Jacaranda. I'd seen how good it was. I enjoyed it. And Alan had said, if you find the cavern, I'll be your partner. Now, I went looking for the cavern. Now, what I was looking for? I was looking for stone arches. Because it's not a cavern if it's not got arches. So I came into this yard and it's all white. And over in the right hand corner.
Oh dear.
It's still working?
Yeah, it still works. You banged your table.
Alright, so I won't mind the table.
It's not very steady on there, is it?
No, I've not brought the stand with me though. I've only got half in anyway.
Right. I was looking for the cavern, so I came to this yard. In the corner there was a black square. So I went to the black square, knelt down and I looked into this and it was full of water. And in the reflection of the water I saw the arches. Now the Catacombs Club was the cavern of Preston, and before that it was Lord Derby's stables for his horses, and also used as Lord Derby's wine cellars. They had flagged stone floor and arches, 7 arches, and I was born on the 17th of the 7th, right, which 7 for me is an extra special number, and it had 7 arches. And even though it was flooded, and everybody said to me, you're crazy, you can't do anything with that place, it belonged to Jackson, the potato man, and he's given up on it because it floods every winter. So I took it over, I paid £1, 10 shillings a week to rent it, and then I went to see Alan. I said, do you want to see something? I don't need to. He says, well, if you get that place together, we'll do it.
And he came to look at it.
Yeah.
Which one was this?
Catacombs in Preston. And I got a pump, pumped out all the water, and we bucketed it out as well, because I mean, we emptied all, and then I got these 7 oil drums, the same seven, because I got 7 for the oil steel band, another 7, and I made holes in them with a pickaxe. I ordered a lorry load of coke, and I put 1 in each arch and dried them. So I had to keep going in to put the coke on to dry them because it was the brick had turned to dust, right? And then you came again. And you said, no way. You said, you've got to put hardboard along that wall. That was the arches with this side, and we did all that wall in hardboard, and you gave me a load of posters from Germany.
Yeah, probably, I can't remember.
From Hamburg.
Yeah.
You know? And French, Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
posters. Remember that? Yeah, well, that's what you gave me. So the wall along there, the brick had turned into powder. So he suggested you put hardboard. It was cheap. That's where Pete Deuce came in. Because Pete Deuce was just passing. He said, I know where I can get some hardboard at Kirkland's. I work there. You can get it free. So I drove the van down there, and Pete Deuce nicked all the hardboard from Kirkland's because he worked there, and that's what became the Catacombs wall. Some story there.
Yeah. And how long did it operate as a club?
Oh, quite a few years.
Was it a few years? Really?
Eh?
From what year to?
Well, you see, Alan was my partner there for what? How long? About a year, weren't you?
Somewhere.
Yeah, Alan was my partner for a year. He sent the bands, he sent Big Three. Yeah. Ricky Valance, he sent me, you remember? Tell Laura I love her.
Yeah.
Tell Laura I care. And he brought this great big American guy who was like a big...
Man, yeah. We used to have a lot of money like that. But it was all newspaper cuttings with a couple of genuine notes
on the outside.
And he told us what happened.
Who was that then? Who was he?
Who was it?
I don't know. I can't remember. Alan told me in those days, he's a big American promoter, he's come over to get grooves. That's what you told me. So we treated him like...
Royalty.
Royalty, yeah. He was a con man.
No, there were royalties now, weren't there?
Paddy Jones was the king.
Yeah, but he's dead now. They're all dead, you know.
Well, we're the only ones left then.
Yeah. We are actually.
I'm Alan's apprentice, right? I'm Alan's apprentice. He taught me the game, and the first thing he taught me is this. See, Alan used to like to have a drink. Always did, always does, and always will, right? He said, let's go out. And I said, where? He said, we'll go to the lowest pubs where the prostitutes are. He says, you've got to get to know all the prostitutes, and you've got to buy them all a drink and get to really know them. Be friendly
You have to
with
keep them out of your club. So you couldn't do that unless you knew them.
Yeah.
Because a good prostitute would come out looking like a queen, you know. I'm not talking about the gay ones.
Yeah,
So
well, consequently, one of the reasons that led me to the square in the snow was all of the condoms. We used to call them Mersey goldfish. Right, because there were so many in the River Mersey. We used to swim and you'd have condoms stuck on the ends of your fingers. There was that many.
Jeez, you have to go into details. Good job we didn't order breakfast.
Mersey goldfish.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, sorry. Well, they were playing around. And that's what led me to think that this would be an ideal place, because it was obviously where all the prostitutes came to do the business, you know. And it was next to the prison.
Yeah.
Now, there was one particular one we made friends with, and she had big, you know, she was really sexy, and her name was Rita. And she tried so many times to get in the club. She tried and cried to get in. And I used to say, I'm sorry, Rita, it's only for students and nurses. Now, if you can get a student's card, you can come in. Or you can be a nurse. Anyway, eventually she understood.
It wasn't really ideally situated, was it? Being where it was, but it wasn't really in the centre of town.
No, well, listen, none of our places, including the Jacaranda then.
No.
I mean, where the Jacaranda was, or is, and now...